since we're talking about the left side, on Ferland Mendy, and so there was one sequence in particular because I was asked a couple months ago what we can improve on next season, and one of the things to me that would be really important if Mendy is going to be our starting left back is that he and Vinicius need to form synergy. It's non-existent right now. It makes no sense that they haven't been able to form some kind of cohesion because Mendy connects really well with Alaba, and that's seamless. But obviously, the obvious explanation is that Mendy is not great offensively. And to me, he doesn't need to be great. All he needs to do is just make simple off-ball runs that would unlock space for Vinicius. Make more overloads, create space. There's one sequence in particular where Vinicius tries to do a give and go with Mendy. He makes the right pass to Mendy, and then he sprints down the field. And then Mendy, instead of hitting it back to him, he just kind of cuts inside and ignores him. I don't know what's going on there, but they need to fix that. I also thought Mendy was immense defensively, but it's funny to me. I can't really explain it. Can you explain it, Om? Why Ferland Mendy, in our own box, he's Zinedine Zidane with the ball. Roulettes, step overs, he's nutmegging three players who press him. And then in the opposing box, he's like, he's me. He has no idea what he's supposed to do. And so, like, how do you explain that? Is it just maybe he thrives more under pressure? I don't know what it is. Maybe dribbling out of a pressure situation is different than going past your man. I'd be curious to know what your explanation of it is.
Well, I think one of it is some of it is just limitations with Mendy offensively and how he's interpreting the game. But like I think some of it is, and I think this is a bit under discussed. It's never really clear what Mendy's role is supposed to be. And it's kind of changed a decent amount since he came in, right? Because there was a while where Zidane was doing this very purposeful thing where Mendy would play this very aggressive, like inverted role, almost like as an advanced midfielder, in certain phases of build-up with Vinicius dropping off. And like that didn't really work out in terms of, not that like they weren't doing their roles, it just didn't lead to that much good offensively, right? And that kind of petered away, but not really. And then Ancelotti kind of came in. And with Carlo, it's always been, you kind of have the freedom to make your own decisions under a broad framework. And I think Mendy has just kind of been stuck from there, like, well, what do I do, right? Like Vinicius is going to interpret the game how he does, right? With his, own dynamic free way. And then for Mendy, it's like, how do I play off of that? And I think he would honestly benefit from more structure, from more like, specific instruction when this, person is here, when it's this type of situation, you move here. But given how fluidly Real Madrid play, even if that was there, there's always going to be this heavy element of you need to interpret on the fly. And look, like we're spoiled by like really, really world-class generational individuals like Benzema, Modric, Kroos, and now Vinny, who is a generational talent, being able to just interpret it so easily and make it happen. And then you have Mendy there who's like, well, hold on, guys, like maybe let's move like half a second slower. And I think it is tough. And, I don't know if this is really going to happen, but I do think if you could sit down with Mendy and kind of game out certain scenarios from it would help. But at the moment, he just kind of left to play at the speed and at the level of these other guys. And it's not worked for a long time now in terms of finding that full synergy. And I don't see why that would necessarily change when we have such a large sample size. But, it's very difficult to, pinpoint causation in this. But, if you force me to answer it, I think this is, some combination of those factors is leading to it.
Yeah, I don't think he'll change. I don't think he'll change in the sense that we know who he is. We know what player he is. He's I think he's 27. He's older than some people think, including myself, because up until like last year, I was always like, oh, he's young, he can figure it out. But we know who he is at this point. He's not going to improve. But there's going to be tweaks that he could do, that tactical shifts that I think would improve his game offensively. They don't need to be otherworldly, dribbling techniques and stuff like Marcelo. What's up, Madridistas on YouTube? This is Kiyan Sobhani. What you just heard or watched or listened to is a segment from the Managing Madrid post-game podcast that went up right after the game against Eintracht Frankfurt. We did a Zoom call. A bunch of patrons joined us live on the call, interacted with us, and we did a podcast together that went well over 1 hour, and we discussed everything from A to Z, every single little detail from that Real Madrid win over Eintracht Frankfurt. This segment was obviously about Ferland Mendy and Vinicius Jr. If you're interested in this stuff, you're interested in deeper analysis, join us on Patreon. You get a ton of exclusive content, including post-game shows live on Zoom like this. And it's over on patreon.com/managingmadrid. We look forward to seeing you on the inside. You'll get a ton of content and a ton of value in return. And you'll join an ever-growing Real Madrid family. Thank you, and Hala Madrid.